people may not know. Maybe they weren't raised in a way that they know what the high road is, or they're maybe a little bit more impulsive. So you've taught me a lot, Stephanie, about how to respond to people, how to treat people with grace. And I was raised great. So, I mean, not saying anything of anyone's raising, but, we do the best with the information we have at the time. We respond to things the best we can. And so we want to give you a little bit more context and a few things to think about from a real estate mom's perspective when you deal with a terrible client, a terrible agent, or you have a family problem, drama, what do you do? So let's start with this. We talked about taking the high road, and we talked about why it's important to maintain that integrity and self-respect. And I think not only for ourselves, but for our business, that's a big reason, but also for ourselves. We feel better about ourselves when we do the right thing. And I think it's written on our hearts of what the right thing is to do. Your conscience tells you when you're acting outside of integrity, right, Steph?
Absolutely. And here's the thing is we are also human beings. And I think that we have to remember that we are, even though we act with the best intentions, that there are also times where we can be walking on the high road, and we have to remember that there's people on the side of us looking at us and always judging what we're doing. And those are those people that are always looking for maybe the worst in us, or there's people that are looking for the best in us, because just like you, I'm always looking for the best for you. So what you're doing in your day, here's me Jess, yes, Jess, go girl. But then there's also you're doing your daily, but there could be a person looking for the worst in you, picking the very same actions out of you and saying, look what she did this, she did that. So someone might think you're walking not in the highest path. Do you know what I'm saying? What you're doing. So that makes it so difficult. So and those people bring in their own baggage. They have their own stories, their own agendas. And so it's so hard to please so many people. And it is so difficult. We're all walking in our own paths. And what you're doing to me is absolutely, you're walking in the highest path. And again, we're all humans. We make absolute mistakes. But everyone is walking and judging, and they have their own agendas. They have their own stuff that they're dealing with. And it is so easy to offend people because there's just so many things. And I think that we need to remember, and again, this is another thing you probably know from me, is I am so aware, and sometimes too aware, that when I'm looking around, it's I hope I didn't say something that hurts that person, or I hope I didn't do something that hurts that person, because I'm so aware of those things, because those things matter to me. But you can't just live like that forever. And I know we'll get into this later, that sometimes you have to just stand up and say that this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm doing. And you can't always worry about the other person either. It's I'm walking in my path, and I'm walking in what I think is the higher good of my path. I know a little bit of a tangent there, but I think it's important to know that even though we think we're doing things right, sometimes what this person thinks is right, this person over here probably thinks you're not doing right. If that makes sense.
Yeah, think about it from the real estate transaction perspective, right? So we are hired to work for a client. So you have a buyer's representative and you have a seller's representative, and then you have the buyer and the seller. And as a agent working for my client, it's my job to get them to look out for their best interest, to, advocate for them, to help them get the best price, and we're kind of working against the other agent, even though our ultimate goal, both of us, is to get the transaction to closing, but we're on opposite sides. And so I have had whenever I've been representing my clients and, looking out for their best interest, I've had the other agent get very upset with me for, like, you name it. One being, I don't negotiate with verbal offers because it's a risk to my clients. Especially when I'm on the seller side, I require a written offer, a written pre-approval. I call this the lender. I'm doing due diligence, and I have had buyer's agents get mad at me. Well, you don't need to be calling the lender. That's not your job. They're not supposed to talk to you. Or, well, I don't understand why you can't just take this verbal offer, and just being frustrated. And so kind of brings me to an analogy I heard of, here's something going on. Let's say it's an object on a stage or a stage. We'll just use that like you're watching a play. And I'm sitting on this side of the stage and you're sitting on the complete opposite side of the stage. We're watching the same act, but we're seeing something totally different because it's based on where we're at in relation to that, our perspective. And so I think it's just really important to remember that. We all have, and giving each other grace, giving each other the benefit of the doubt. I've said a couple times now, they're showing up with the information, doing the best they can with the information they have at the time.